business owner? Entrepreneur? Want to learn how online marketing can improve your business?
Your questions.
Our advice.
This is Not a Real Job.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 61 of Not a Real Job, a comedy podcast about digital online marketing and small business and other fun stuff. I am one of your co-hosts, Chris Van Patten, and I make websites and web apps wherever the road takes me. How's that?
Yeah, I mean, we'll take it. I'm Joel Kelly, and I do social media stuff for travel and tourism brands from Nova Scotia, Canada.
And we have a special guest today. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi. My name is Miriam Lamey. I'm a writer, social media person, digital storyteller, and I have a background in content marketing, content management, and content creation. And I channeled a lot of my ex-journalism experience, I should say, I still write, into writing for the web and making this whole thing happen. And I also do PR.
I love the direction that was going in for a second, where you had just given up writing.
No,
I no longer write. Wow.
I'm done. No more writing ever again.
I have finished. Oh man, I want to give the audience just a little insight into podcasting. So I, as Chris found out during the last show, where I was messing with the Google Doc, I fiddle with stuff constantly. I have to. I obviously can't sit still. Mm-hmm. I'm going to say every time you do the intro, Chris, I will pick something up off of my desk to play with / move around. And then I'm just holding it, worried that I'll make noise, putting it back down on the desk. So I can often spend several minutes just holding something, afraid to make a noise. Right now, it's the case, the little tennis ball can that my whiskey came in that I'm drinking. So I'm going to set it down now, and Steve can just take the audio out.
Well, let's cut to that. The most important part of our show. What are you drinking?
All right. So I was going to grab just, we've got a bottle of Auchentoshan. I know I said that wrong. I always say it wrong.
No, it's Auchentoshan, I think.
Thank you.
Auchentoshan? I don't know.
Yeah.
I grew up in England, and it's Scottish, I believe.
Yeah, it is.
So you better pronounce it properly.
Well, I mean, I'll leave that to you.
All right.
So it's amazing. There was a recent episode of Accidental Tech podcast where people had corrected Marco's pronunciation of hover, the domain registrar.
How did he say? How can you say that word?
He
wrong?
was saying it perfectly normal.
How do you pronounce it?
I think it was people in England actually that were correcting him.
It's probably Hoover, like the vacuum cleaner, right?
No, well, I think that may have been what they were saying it should have been, but no. So anyway, he replaced all his mentions of hover in his sponsor read with just clips of how people had sent it in to him to pronounce it. So maybe I'll Google
we'll get
an audio of people. Yeah,
here.
I think there's a video where there's an actor who I won't remember the name right now, but anyway, he went through a Scottish actor and he went through and pronounced all the a bunch of Scottish distilleries with the proper pronunciation. So anyway, I was going to drink that. But
so this has all been about a thing that you're not even consuming right now.
Correct.
Okay.
This is just background. It's just color. It's just context. People love it.
Hypothetical whiskey.
Yeah.
Scotch. Maybe.
Instead, I'm drinking because I had forgotten that my, I guess, wife now.
Yeah.
Now that we're in the future.
By the time this is released.
Congratulations.
Oh, thank you so much. Anyway, my wife bought me, before she was my wife, a bottle of After Dark fine grain whiskey. So,
can you just say whiskey again, please?
Whiskey?
Whiskey.
I love it. It. There's a little H in there. It's great.
It's
you
proper.
Keep on keeping on, Joel.
Anyway, thank you. Anyway, as we've discussed before, Moncton, well, all of New Brunswick, the province in Canada, is a hellhole. But what they do have is better whiskey selection.
Wow.
So she got After Dark, which is it says the smoothest flavors blended to perfection. It's from India. I've never had a whiskey from India before.
Are they known for their whiskeys?
Who could know? Who could know? It's a whole other world over there.
Indeed.
No idea
the
what
Far
they're up
East,
to.
the Orient.
We should
All right,
we should back off this.
Watch it now.
Yeah.
The New World? Is that true? No, I made that up.
Is it still sensitive to people from England that they don't own it anymore?
Not me personally, because I'm only half British.
Oh, okay. But the full,
I don't know.
The full cold-blooded British people.
I think they're a little more concerned about territory to the north. Whatever is north of the wall.
Oh,
Yeah, there we go.
North of the wall. Actually, I've been to Hadrian's Wall many times, and it was quite lovely, and Scotland, but I've never been to London. So I was hoping that Scotland were going to separate.
You've never been to London?
Nope.
Wow.
Nope.
Even I've been to London.
Me too.
Ugh.
Ugh.
Yeah, exactly.
Have you seen? Anyway, no, never mind. I was going to ask obscure movie questions.
Go ahead, please. Now I'm
it's
curious.
not. It's really not important now.
Fine.
The moment's passed. Wow, this whiskey is strong. Whew.
Yeah.
It's got a Bernie vibe.
A Bernie vibe?
Bernie
Yeah.
Canadian whiskey.
What's that?
Bernie Indian whiskey.
Indian, yeah.
Excuse me.
Sorry, one of the other colonies.
Okay, yes. Sorry, I mix up my colonies from time to time. Apologies.
Another member of the Commonwealth.
Yeah, exactly. They're all the same.
Oh, there's citizens.
I just realized that I missed Downton Abbey today because of this. So thanks again, Joel.
Now,
That's fine.
Downton Abbey.
Yeah, that's the one that's like Big Brother.
Big Brother. Perfect. Okay.
As we have
Thanks.
discussed in the past. It's a
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I'll go back.
A bit.
and
It's a
listen to
little
past
throwback.
episodes.
sure.
Call it a callback.
So discussion topics, because we have some. First of all, we didn't mention this in the last episode, even though it was in the notes for the last episode. When the am I going to get your book?
Oh, yeah. All right. So, funny story about that is my draft is due October 10th,
Yay.
which, is 6 days after my wedding. And I will. Yeah. So, it'll be interesting. Anyway, it's getting there.
Okay.
I feel pretty good about it.
Sure.
Still do need to finish the brand new third act after I threw out the original.
Mhm.
But with my new Anchor Ultra Slim USB keyboard,
That's going to be easy.
I can work from anywhere on my iPad without having to use the Chromebook or another computer. So I'm thinking I've got the tools.
We have the technology.
90% of writing
rebuild him.
is technology. Everyone knows that.
Yes.
It's a standard fact.
Well, yeah, I mean, exactly. If you don't have the proper tool, you're not going to be able to write anything of quality. So I've spent the money. I've invested in the tech. And I think the next step is just let it happen.
Exactly.
Just let it roll.
Just let it happen.
Now, as a writer, Miriam,
Yes.
you are aware of these facts. Do you have any other tips for getting a project done that you're way behind on?
Well, if I can give advice that many good writers already know, your project is already getting done at the last minute because you procrastinated until deadline.
Mm-hmm.
So I would just say always be observant because you never know where you're going to get inspiration from. And somewhere like New York, it's fairly easy. I mean, you walk down the street, you see a crazy person to your left, an opera singer to your right, and then everything else in between, walking all over the place. So you just have to sort of take it all in. And I don't know, some people make notes, some people file that away. But personally, I just try to write stories in my head and eventually write them down. And I'm kind of type A, so I'm always ahead of deadline, unfortunately. I was never scrambling for deadlines. So
I see.
But I will say, in the process of writing my own book, the hardest thing is after a long week, finding the motivation to sit down and actually do what I'm supposed to do. And this week it's been difficult. Next week it might not be difficult. But when you set your own deadlines, it's incredibly difficult. So you just sort of have to make time to do it and find a way to make it happen.
Now, what kind of keyboard are you using? Is that the problem, perhaps?
I believe that might be the problem. I am on not a Mac, I'm on a PC, unfortunately.
wow.
Yes, but not a Dell.
There you
Can
go.
I say that?
I think so.
Okay.
Dell's not a sponsor of this episode.
Excellent.
They cut
Well
out this
done.
week alone.
Well,
Yeah.
HP, on the other hand, are fabulous.
Oh, man.
And I love their computer. No, seriously, I've had it for 4 years and it's not, knock on wood, going to that place where computers go yet. But no, it's just a question of, you can't overthink it. That's the biggest thing for me. I think about, well, I have to write this and I want to publish this year. But the second I start doing that, the second I stop thinking about writing. And I have my own blog. It's just miriamlamey.wordpress.com. Shameless plug.
Link
Sorry,
will be in the show
guys.
notes.
Oh, no, please. That's all we do is plug.
Awesome. plugged away. And I, for a long time, was trying to monetize it. I saw a lot of very successful bloggers in the health and fitness community and in the food blogging community. And this was back in the day before Pinterest really took off, where it was actually take pictures of your food and talk about it and show recipes. And people were getting book deals, like post, what is that movie? The one with Julia about
Julie and Julia.
Child. Julie and Julia. I love that film.
It's great.
It's all right.
It was sort of in that in that post realm where you still felt like you could have a blog and make it succeed, but then advertisers and companies jumped on that. So now people do quote unquote product reviews for stuff that is initially underground and ends up being mainstream, or have giveaways for ridiculous stuff, put ads on their blog, and then all of a sudden it takes off. Honestly, you can't fault them. I'd love to do the same thing. But anyway, in a very long-winded way, I was trying to make my writing fit that. And then I want to try and make it fit the whole running genre, because I wanted free shoes. Who doesn't? You know, they're expensive.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm a writer, and when it comes to my personal writing, I can't pimp it out in such a fashion. So I decided to stop doing that and just have my own blog for me and let my work shine. And also, you know, when I was doing writing for work, I'd make it very work oriented. And now, I don't know. I don't think I've written this well in years. Also, not having an editor is nice.
Do you have an editor on your book?
Well, I've been assigned one. I've been instructed. What's the way to put it? That, you know, whenever I want, I can send stuff over.
Oh, okay. The gentle nudge.
Yeah, but I'm like, you know what? Probably gonna wait. Yeah.
Hopefully, this time next month, you'll be slightly less busy, I guess. Although, I mean, in fairness, as of right now, you are married, right? That's true. How is married life?
So married.
The old ball and chain, am I right?
Okay, come on.
Well, it's funny you brought that up. So we were listening to, it was a podcast. It's probably been Bam in the car today.
Mm-hmm.
And they were talking about, right. It was an episode where someone had been in a relationship for a year, and had missed the honeymoon phase, like wanted to feel that again. They're around, you know, newer couples, and they're kind of like, you know, it's almost like thinking about like, I want to start a new relationship because the new part is the fun part. And Leah and I were discussing, we've been together for 5 years now. We're married. We don't fantasize about being with other people. We fantasize about being alone. Just not having someone around all the time is really, we're at that stage in the relationship, which is more comfortable, frankly. But man, yeah, that's married life. We're just gonna ride this one till the end.
Just to chime in briefly, the honeymoon period is honestly the worst part, because you're still sort of getting to know each other, and they might run a mile. The best part is when you make dinner and you burn the house down, and the other person's like already dialed, you know, Seamless. Well, dialed takeout, found Seamless, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Nice shameless plug too. I like Seamless. And it doesn't
New York,
matter.
you have to.
Of course. It doesn't matter. And then you end up on the couch watching, like, you know, 18 episodes of something. You don't have to sort of quote unquote put on the act anymore.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. It's so much more fun just being yourself and being with someone who's not pretending to be someone else. It's definitely, so that's, you know, that's what being married is like, Chris, just hanging out.
Thank you. That's good information. I'm going to file that away in something and refer back to that when the time comes for yours truly. And
also, I'm not married either. So, you know.
We'll take your word for it.
Single. No ring on this finger yet.
Oh, man. I feel so old and wizened.
You are.
I bet I'm older than you.
It's the beard, actually.
It's possible. We don't need to get into ages.
No, we don't. Thank you very much. Anyway.
That seems like an impolite way to launch it. Anyway, welcome to the show. How old are you?
Hi, my name is Miriam, and
24?
Yeah, I've been told I look that way, put it that way.
I was actually looking recently at the Dropbox for our show, and I don't know if we've ever posted this publicly or if I just emailed this to you, but I don't know if you remember the Joel Dolph that I made.
Yeah.
I'll pull it up here for Miriam's benefit.
Yeah, that may have made it into one of the episode, like the cover photo for the episode.
So this is a Photoshop that I made of Joel with Gandalf's staff and hat.
Oh, I love it. That is brilliant.
Yeah.
That's what I do when I have other things that need to get done. I make Photoshops to waste time.
Yep. I mean, it's a good way to spend your time. You know, you're practicing your craft.
Exactly. This is my skill set that I need to hone to the best of my ability.
This is how you're going to get famous, Chris.
It's not going to be this podcast?
No, it's going to be your Photoshops.
What? I thought you were putting my headshot underneath and like I was going to be so famous after this was over.
Do we have any subscribers left? Like, where have they gone? I don't know what we're looking like now.
Well, now that I'm married and I'm no longer desirable, I think everyone's just left.
Sure.
Everyone really liked my nasally Canadian accent.
Can you say about for us?
About?
About?
Darn. Not good enough.
Well, I know I have a Canadian accent. I used to work at a call center when I was just out of high school, and all of our clients were American, and most of them, well, maybe not most, that would have been weird, but lots would comment on my Canadian accent. And since it was a super shady operation, we had to pretend that we were actually in the States. So I just had to say that I was from Canada.
I hate to break it to both of you, but coming from not the northern part of the country or Canada, you both have accents.
Yeah, that's understandable.
I'm
Sorry,
okay
Chris.
with that.
Yeah, you do. You have a slightly tinged, not the full on Buffalo.
It's like it's the upstate thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
All right,
I'll lean into it.
It makes us sound dumber, but there's nothing we can do about that.
No, I love it. It's brilliant. It's really interesting.
So do we want to dive into things that are relevant to our audience?
Well, we're 17 minutes in. Now's the time.
Now's
the time if there is one.
I do have a question for Miriam and for you as well, Joel. If you feel up to it. I don't know. You're probably tired from wedding.
Married.
Yeah. So as longtime listeners of the show know, I hate the word content. I went on a rant. It must have been like in the 20s and 30s of our show where I for 5 full minutes, probably I was like bitching and moaning about how the word content is just such an unpersonal, inhuman word.
Truth.
And I hated it. I'm curious for somebody who is a professional content marketer, and that's how you promote yourself. And that's the work that you do. How do you make content marketing not be a terrible, inhuman thing?
I never call it that. That's just the word that people understand because it's used on Twitter. It's used on LinkedIn. It's used in the wider media. What it really means, honestly, even Google uses it. What it really means, honestly, and Joel, you can support or deny this. It really just means excellently written articles, or well, it depends on the media. You know, well-sourced video, appropriate images, or just honestly, just well-written articles that someone's going to read and want to share. I never understand the Google updates, and I always try to. But the most recent one basically said, stop it with the backlinks. It's never going to happen. You really just have to have good articles on your site. And honestly, I mean, I've been doing that since the early days of SEO when it actually mattered how many keywords you stuffed in there. Now it's just like, please make sure someone understands the back end and everything's tagged properly and you have the right links. But, you know, like physical papers are I hate to use the word dying, but they're going out of print. Magazines aren't going out of print. Everyone's going online. So the best thing you can do as a business or a website is just make sure you have a really solid blog that people want to read and what people want to come back and visit. And it's a lot better saying article or blog than saying content, because content is just this all-encompassing term that no one understands.
It's meaningless.
It is, because content is video. Content, quote unquote, goes viral. Well, what portion of content went viral?
And what does viral mean? It's a weasel word.
Viral means somebody gives you a lot of money for it, and then papers like the New Yorker write about it, and it's not fair. But anyway, podcast. This podcast.
We are content. How does that feel, Joel?
I'm fine with it. I guess my where I might disagree is, I guess it's not really a disagreement. It's that I'm fine with words being used as wrappers for very broad concepts, just for the sake of conversation. And of course, I mean,
sure,
I agree with George Orwell and the fact that we have such a vague concept that we're really kind of ruining the language and reducing our own thought by just calling it content. I also am a big fan of ease and laziness, and to say content marketing, it doesn't communicate an incredibly precise idea, but it communicates that you're going to be doing something either using the written word or videos or sound to get people onto your website.
Right.
It's really just saying marketing, but
Digital
I think
marketing.
that's my biggest problem with it, is that this idea of content marketing being separate from marketing, this other thing, I don't know. To me, a good marketing is good marketing. It doesn't matter what specific area you're in, whether it's social media or content marketing or video or whatever it is. Marketing.
Maybe we just continue to support it because it's nice to be appreciated as being a good writer.
Yes.
As,
Yay!
as that continues to be less and less of a skill that people appreciate, perhaps we're subconsciously perpetuating it because it gives us a home within advertising.
Well, I think it's that, and also this idea of this newness that's so essential. I think years ago it was social media marketing. SMM was the big thing that everyone loved, and now content marketing is the new thing that everyone loves. So I think it's this human propensity to find whatever is new and latch onto it and make it bigger than it is, in a sense. I think content marketing is a tool set that is just part of marketing. I don't think it's a means to an end in itself. I think it's part of a bigger process that you need to think about. That was one of the things. So Lindsay, who writes the show notes and sort of makes us look better than we are.
It scripts the show.
And
Yes, she writes
Lindsay.
the scripts.
I haven't met you, but thank you.
And Lindsay is great. And Lindsay has worked with me on Van Patten Media's marketing, also Blastoff's marketing. And it's been fine. Like, it's great. Like, Lindsay, I'm not talking about you at all. But I think part of the reason that it hasn't been maybe as successful as I would like is because for a long time, I was thinking about it of content marketing and writing these blog posts as a means to an end rather than as part of a bigger strategy. And that was a mistake on my part. And that's something that I'm working really hard to rectify and make better.
Kind of awkward to just throw Lindsay under the bus.
No,
like,
Lindsay
on
is
the
amazing.
show.
She has written articles that have gotten lots of views. Like, she's awesome. This is more like the direction that I give her, I think, has maybe been a little misguided. And that's something that I'm working to resolve myself, which is why, Lindsay, that probably hasn't been a lot of articles in the last couple of weeks. So that's my B. We'll get better. But
well, I mean, I think let me give an example of how I see content marketing as being a success. So we have one of our clients is a Caribbean island destination. There was some big news, about something that had happened there, a good story. So what we wanted to do was quickly try to capture some of the momentum of this story. So we had one person in our content team wrote a blog post. One of the people on my team wrote the Facebook and Twitter post for it. This all happening at the same time. We got it up on the website, and then I set up Facebook and Twitter ads to point to these posts to get that traffic on the website and to keep the momentum going. That's where I see content marketing is a piece of marketing. And really what we did was just basic PR in marketing. There's a story, you write about it, so you get traffic going to your website and not all the news stories, and then straight up paid media to support it.
I think that's
where I see it fit again.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's my biggest problem, is this idea of content marketing being this other thing. Yeah. It's not. It's just good PR. It's good marketing. It's good advertising. And I understand. I do, like you said, like, I understand why we refer to it as its own special thing, but I don't think that's the best way to think about it. I think if you're just using it as a term, like as plain old terminology to describe a specific thing, that's fine. But when you're thinking about your marketing for your online business, you have to think about it as a tool, not as its own type of marketing.
Right. Yeah. If your business employing someone to write blog posts for you is not going to turn things around.
Yeah.
If that's your plan, you're going to do content marketing. Okay, that means we need to produce a bunch of content on the website, and that's it. That's not a marketing strategy. That's a wish and a prayer.
I have to say that without delving into any past, because, bringing anything past up in a negative way, I think is just bad karma. Sorry. Also, I'm going to start training to be a yoga teacher, so don't mind me with the whole ooh.
Go for it.
But I will say that working for people that don't understand content marketing and don't understand what it really means is incredibly difficult, because you need to know that it's part of a whole picture. Just throwing it out there is just going to add to the noise of the internet. And honestly, who needs more of that? You need people who understand what they're doing. And I don't know if you'd necessarily need specializations in social media. Well, I mean, large companies do, but for a smaller business, I think someone that just sort of understands everything and can work with teams to do exactly what you guys are talking about is ideal. But by the same token, you can't forget that it's part of a bigger picture. Just putting stuff on the web, who cares? Why should I read this as opposed to reading Gothamist? Because, ooh, pretty pictures and, ooh, weird video. Ooh, oh, wait, what's that? It's like people have no attention span anymore and people don't want to focus in. So just throwing stuff up there, they're not going to pay attention. But if you make an effort to target the right people, to put up really good quality stuff, they'll come back.
Yeah, I think the number one thing, if I were a small business owner looking to hire somebody to run my content marketing or marketing period.
And can I put my email address on here too?
Yeah, we'll get to that.
Yes.
But I would say the number one thing is you need to find somebody who understands how all of these pieces interconnect.
Exactly.
And you need to find somebody who understands the bigger picture and is not just if you're somebody who writes great tweets, that's nice. You can probably find a job in a Fortune 500 company where you're just writing tweets 8 hours a day.
Enjoy.
And
that's you like wearing a suit.
Absolutely. Great. Good for you. That's awesome. But I think if you're somebody who's either working in an agency or working for a specific small business in particular, you need to have a really in-depth understanding of how all these pieces connect, because content marketing can't exist without SEO, which can't exist without social media, which can't exist without advertising. All these pieces have to fit together. So if you're just if you're a C-level executive and you're thinking, I need content marketing in my business, I'm doing hand gestures that no one's going to see. Sorry about that. He's
swinging his fist to be like, I need this content marketing. So imagine if you're going,
I'm swinging my fist. We'll put a GIF in the show notes of that.
This is a podcast with descriptive audio.
It's the best.
That's what happens when you got a writer on the other end.
But yeah, you have to understand how all of these pieces fit together because they're all interconnected. And yeah, you can focus on one thing and that's fine, but you're not going to be as effective. Even if you are in a Fortune 500 company where you're just writing tweets all day, or if you're in a massive Madison Avenue agency, and you're just writing tweets, that's fine. But if you don't understand how all of these pieces fit together, you're going to be much less effective.
Right.
Yeah, I think just love marketing. That's a hard sell for people. But I think if you want to be a success, you really do need to enjoy the idea of marketing,
exactly,
which will drive you to learn all those other things. I think we've said in a previous podcast, my criteria for hiring the people on my team, number one is, are you a good writer? That's everything else is teachable. You need to be a great writer and then have some sort of passion for what you're doing. And then everything else you need to be a success has been teachable, but you need to be a great writer. You need to be passionate about what you're doing, and everything else can be taught. So I would say, if you want to be a successful marketer, whether that's a content marketer or anything else, start at being the best writer you possibly can be and like what you're doing and want to learn.
So what would both of you, I'm not a writer. I write, but I don't consider myself a writer. What would you say are the great resources for somebody who is either new to writing or wants to be a better writer? What books or websites or strategies would you recommend?
Oh, man, I have. Okay, so Pointer did a podcast.
That's Poynter,
yeah,
right?
Okay. Yes, correct. They have a podcast. I absolutely loved it. 50... Was it 50 writing tools? Mm-hmm. Yeah. It was Roy Peter Clark from pointer.org did 50 writing tools as a podcast. I think it's on iTunes U maybe. And it is fantastic. They're 2 to 3 minutes long, super basic. Of course, that's specific. That's a resource. The way to become a better writer is to read, and write
Yes.
and just practice that. But mostly reading, I'd say, knowing what's good writing, what's bad writing, analyzing everything. If you say this, oh man, that was so well written, figure out why you're thinking that, and vice versa. If you read an article and go, that was kind of bad, figure out why you thought that. But anyway, we'll link to this in the show notes. It's fantastic. It's my go-to recommendation for this sort of thing.
Very cool. I guess writing is something that I mean, you can teach someone to put a sentence together, but I don't think you can teach someone to observe and understand information in quite the right way. It's sort of, it's innate. It's like, it's in there, and you have to want to communicate. So I think the best thing if someone wants to get into writing is start talking to people. And I don't mean anything above and beyond, casual conversation, but start interacting with the world. Get off the phone, take out the headphones, pay attention to what's happening, and then just start writing down what you observe, because that's the basic first step to learning how to write. If you've never done it before, say you're, Fortune 500, stockbroker person who doesn't write, that's a really good start. But the thing is, you have to have the desire. It's not something you just go into casually. You go into it because words fascinate you, language fascinates you. I mean, honestly, a way to find out if you even care is sign up for the dictionary.com's word of the day. Because if you get a kick out of those, then you want to keep writing. And if you don't care, then fine. That's if it's like, oh, here's another email, then you're not a writer. If you walk around and you see things and you don't think about how to capture them in words, how to describe them, you're not a writer. If you don't want to talk to people, if you don't want to engage, you're not a writer, and you will write horrible content. I liked your point about if you read something and want to know why it's good, or you read something you want to know why it's bad. I think if you even understand the difference between what's bad and what's good writing means you are a writer. You just don't know it yet. The problem with writing is the problem with everything. You sort of have to make yourself vulnerable. You have to not mind criticism. You have to... People say you have to develop a thick skin, but you really have it already, because when you do put something on a page, even if it's just a piece about vacuum cleaners. Sorry, I'm still obsessed with the whole Hoover thing, because no one calls... Over here, they don't call vacuum cleaners Hoovers, and in England, they call them Hoovers. But anyway.
We should.
I know, it's a great thing. But even if you just, you end up writing an article about vacuum cleaners, and there's part of you that's like, what the holy hell am I doing? But there's part of you that's like, this is going to be a really awesome article about vacuum cleaners, and I'm going to find the best way to describe them, and I'm going to find exactly the right word to talk about its aesthetic greatness. Then you're a writer.
That's, fantastic.
I've been doing this for way too long.
I
writing,
so
not
agree.
the talking bit.
And only an additional point to that is, whether the great Orwell quote, the enemy of good writing is insincerity.
Yep.
And I think if you understand what that means, and if you can tell bad writing from good writing, and you can tell that it's insincere, again, you're already a writer.
Yep.
If you've got that. And I think that's so, in the advertising world and the public relations world, there are so many bad writers.
Oh,
and I think
yes.
I think it's because they're insincere, because they're coming from a place of, this is all nonsense, the words don't matter.
Mm-hmm.
And or just like a lack of caring, period. End of story. They don't care. And that's probably part of why I don't consider myself a writer, because I have a caring deficiency. But
my heart hurts a little. You don't care about words. Have you seen The Book Thief? Come on.
I have not. Oh. I have not read or seen.
Well, I would say seen, because you said you're not a writer, so I would assume you don't read a lot. But that's
contrary.
I know. You made it through Ian Forster, and I do not.
Yeah, I know.
Sorry.
I'm a nerd. No, it's fine. It's fine.
Fitzgerald, all the way. Anyway, yes, I'm sorry.
Cool. No, I think that's probably a good place to end it. We're just over the 30-minute mark a little bit. So let's do some, first let's start with product reviews.
And I'll link to my comprehensive review of 50 Shades of Grey. If people,
Brilliant.
Perfect. If people want to get a sense of what bad writing looks like.
You don't read that book. Right?
Well, I mean, obviously, because that book is brilliant. No, but I mean, it's there's so many perfect examples of where she uses cliches and insincerity.
No.
Yeah, I know.
Wait, is this a real thing that you've done? Is this like a real post that is live? Or are you just saying this?
No. My book club, the one and only book we ever read was 50 Shades of Grey. Because we kept hearing about it. There were people in our office who had been reading it, and we just had to know. So me and two friends, we read the book and then prepared a review of it.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So anyway,
Yeah,
it's
it's one of the worst things I've ever read.
Absolutely. Oh my God.
Yeah.
It's unreadable, really.
I couldn't stop reading. It's like a bad, horror film thing. You can't look away. So I couldn't stop reading it. It was just like, oh my God.
Just painful.
And it got more and more funny as I went along. Anyway, I'm talking too much. I apologize.
It got funny, but also so frustrating.
Yep.
Like her words were just so poorly assemmed that it became extremely difficult to continue.
You know why? She had no experience of any of this whatsoever, and she tried to imagine it. And honestly, the woman did not have an imagination. That's all I'm saying. Because literally, it got laughable.
Exactly. Well, yeah, just talking about her inner self, and oh man,
yeah.
There's a few. I've got some stats in the review.
Is this on joelkelly.ca?
No, it's actually on my old blog. I should probably reprint it.
Please do.
Yeah, repetition gets its own section. In a normal story, the word impassive to describe someone's body language or statements would be used sparingly. In this book, it's used 28 times, which is every 13 pages.
Wow.
And that's not even the worst offender. Flush
she was impassive?
wins the prize for that. Anytime the main character experiences the slightest surprise, and she is surprised by everything that happens in her world.
Oh, yeah.
She flushes, and her breath usually hitches.
What does that even mean?
Appears a staggering 113 times.
Oh, good
or every
Lord.
3.3 pages.
Ew.
How did you?
So anyway, I'll link to the post so people can read it themselves.
All right. So this has been Not a Real Job, a comedy podcast about marketing and other related things. We bring the comedy, you bring the questions. So if you want to ask a question, you can do that at notarealjob.com/questions. One other thing, before we actually get too far in the housekeeping, Joel, your Amazon recommendation this week, and I think maybe just to keep it in the spirit of things, let's do book recommendations.
Okay. I only heard part of that, but I think you said we should do book recommendations. So what I can talk about on that front is actually a couple things I haven't finished reading yet, but I'm excited about. And one of them is, I'll just give one. Sam Harris's Waking Up, a guide to spirituality without religion. So Sam Harris is big into meditation and spirituality, but he is also known as being a prominent atheist. So I'm excited to, I've only just started it, but I'm excited to get into it because I am also a big fan of the ideas about spirituality and the numinous without necessarily having religion. So that's my recommendation.
I just want you to know that there are like full-on cheers happening over here. Silent cheers, but cheers all the same, because we are big into that.
Massive atheists with Buddhist leanings.
Yes, so definitely check that out. I will check that out too. Cool. So Miriam, do you want to put a book in?
Sure. Can it be any kind of book?
Any kind of book.
I have to say, I don't know why, but I was feeling sort of homesick for Boston. So I started reading Gone Baby Gone by Dennis Lehane. And I'm not a big fan of crime dramas. I'm not a big fan of that. But this stuff is just, I can't put it down. I forget where I am on the train. I also just finished Orange is the New Black. If anyone's a fan of the show, it's actually a really great book to read because it makes the show make a little bit more sense, and you can see how they adapted it. I do not agree with the American thing of making one show 5 seasons because there's not really enough material in there. But even so, the book's really interesting, and I think you should check it out. Chris, what about you?
What about me? Good question. I recently, so I'm going to give 2 this week just because I feel like it. I know I'm breaking all the rules. First, David Mitchell's new novel, The Bone Clocks, is freaking amazing. David Mitchell is just like an incredible writer. You probably know him from Cloud Atlas, which was made into a movie, and an amazing book. But this new book, The Bone Clocks, it's kind of a departure for him because even, Cloud Atlas was kind of a fantasy in structure only. The stories that happened within it were they didn't really approach the same thing. But The Bone Clocks is a pure, like, through and through fantasy. But what's amazing about it is how he unites all of his different books. And it turns out, I don't want to give too much away, but like all of his books actually live in the same universe, which is incredible. And so definitely check it out. It's like the uniting factor between all his other works, which you should also like check out all of his other books. But in addition to that, I recently started rereading Fiesta, also known as The Sun Also Rises by Mr. Ernest Hemingway.
Yes.
It's one of the greats, and I adore it. I have a copy that was given to me by a close friend who it's a mass market paperback copy, and I keep that in my back pocket now, quite literally. And I adore this book. So definitely check it out, read it.
There's a new edition.
There is a new
Hemingway
edition.
Library edition. I picked that up because this is I just had I think it was like a Penguin reprint. I don't know who the publisher was, but really a very generic copy of it.
Mm-hmm.
They did a bunch of editions. I got the same cover art and the same style was done for. They did The Sun Also Rises, Farewell to Arms, and For Whom the Bell Tolls. I got all of those kind of at the same time. And they're kind of lame copies. But this library edition is beautiful. Hardcover, has photos, has a bunch of notes and appendices. So I can highly recommend that people pick up that edition if they want something that's slightly larger and won't fit in their pocket.
I think I said this to you a couple weeks ago, but when you mentioned, I think you tweeted that you saw the book, and I probably tweeted back or whatever, but I saw a copy of this new edition in Barnes & Noble on the Upper East Side, like 86 and whatever it is, Lexington maybe. But beside the point was I saw the book and they had signed copy stickers on them.
What?
And I was very confused for a moment. I was like, isn't he dead?
Wow.
But it's actually his grandson wrote the forward to the book.
Come on.
And so they had the descendant Hemingway signing the book. So
Yeah, it's hard to be more dead than him.
Yeah. Well, I see. I'm a Fitzgerald woman, so my deal is I like Hemingway sparingly, and
Do we have
I
to-
adore Fitzgerald.
We have to pick.
I think that it's. I mean, other than The Sun Also Rises, I had a bit of a hard time. I tried to read For Whom the Bell Tolls, and I couldn't get through it.
Oh yeah, no, that.
Oh,
That will. I mean, it's a fantastic book.
I'm sure
but
it's
absolutely,
lovely.
that book took me a year to get through. I read that very slowly. Farewell to Arms and his short stories are really, I think, closer to the peak. And of course, The Old Man and the Sea is a masterpiece as well. But don't worry, if you, For Whom the Bell Tolls is.
I thought what
It's
happened?
like Citizen Kane. You appreciate it when it's over. But
am I the only guy who actually likes Citizen Kane? I guess probably.
No. Well, I mean, again, I appreciate
Film
it. I can watch it. But like, Sun Also Rises is Casablanca, and For Whom the Bell Tolls is Citizen Kane.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
No,
Casablanca is one of my favorite films ever. I'm sorry.
Yes.
I'm having the same experience of slow reading with Madame Bovary by Gustave Flaubert.
God,
oh my God.
I'm sorry.
It's probably been close to a year now, and I'm still only halfway through it, and it's painful.
Rip off the Band-Aid. You just got to do it. And then say you read it and then say, why did I bother?
And then move on with my life.
Crime and Punishment, however, much better.
I liked that book.
Yeah, I thought it was
Oh man,
brilliant.
that's one I'll be reading for the rest of my life.
Love that book.
I'm sure it's fantastic, but
It's good stuff.
yeah.
All right, rest of housekeeping. We are on iTunes, notarealjob.com/iTunes. And I have to admit, since we recorded our last episode, I didn't go in and check and see if we actually had any reviews. So maybe you did review us. And if so, we love you forever. If not, please go and review us. 5 stars will go a long way. And also, please check us out on Twitter, twitter.com/NARJcast. I'm at Chris Van Patten. Joel is at Joel Kelly. And where are you, Miriam?
I am at Mir7. That's spelled MIRSEVEN.
Perfect. I think that's going to do it. Is that it? Did I forget anything?
That's it.
Awesome. We're going to call it, whether it is or not.
Calling.
All right. Congratulations, Joel, who is married. Send him your love on Twitter. And otherwise, we will talk to you next week.
Bye everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.